You're listening to the Courting Happiness podcast. This is a place where self-care becomes part of your day, a space where you'll learn evidence-based strategy to help your life, share it with those you love, and cultivate well-being at work. I'm your host, Dr. Kortni Alston. I'm a former news director, television reporter turned happiness scholar, TEDx speaker, and transformational trainer. I also understand hardships. While working my dream job in television, I lived a nightmare of suddenly becoming a young widow after 86 days of marriage. I became committed to learning more about resilience, healing, and happiness. This is how I discovered my area of research, which is positive psychology. Now I'm living my calling of training individuals and organizations on happiness, and my new chapter begins with being happily engaged. The Courting and Courting Happiness is about a true courtship, I like to say commitment with happiness. The K in courting stands for the vulnerability of sharing my story, inspirational interviews with phenomenal people, the infusion of positive psychology, and so much more. You'll learn how to commit to your well-being one episode at a time. I hope you subscribe and share. So, are you ready? Let's get started. Welcome to episode 25. It's so hard to believe. Yes, episode 25. And I have to say this, Happy International Day of Happiness. Yes. So depending on when you're listening to this podcast, March 20th is the International Day of Happiness. And this year of 2021, we celebrated this Saturday. It's so hard to believe. I'm actually looking at a calendar right now to say, I can't believe that Saturday is March 20th. Feels like time is just flying by. So you're probably wondering, well, some of you may not know about International Day of Happiness, and this is great. I'm so excited to be able to want to share it with you. For those of you who do know, hopefully this podcast will help you in terms of learning what you could possibly do for yourself on International Day of Happiness, and really what you can do for yourself right now. So this podcast episode is all about the International Day of Happiness, and this year, what we can do to really make sure that we're protecting our self-care. So, for those of you who may not know about the International Day of Happiness, it started actually since 2013. The United Nations has celebrated the International Day of Happiness as a way to recognize the importance of happiness, well-being in the lives of people from all over the world. And this year's theme is about handling a global crisis. We've been doing it, right, with the pandemic and taking it day by day. And it's so hard to believe how long. Guys, many of you know that I am a college professor, right? I'm a happiness scholar, I'm a college professor. I haven't been back on campus in my office in a year. Working remotely due to the pandemic. And it's so, I can't even fathom, right? And all of us have been going through all of these changes, right? This past year with lockdown and social distancing. And now as we're embarking on, the vaccine and then making the transition. And so I love that this is all about handling a global crisis, but doing it together. The theme is all about finding positive ways to look after ourselves and each other. Action for Happiness has a transformative coping calendar with daily action items to help you do just that. But we're going to talk about the 3 positive steps that they mention in regards to really how to take and face difficult times. So here are these 3 positive steps we can take. Well, all of us can take, right? When facing difficult times. The first one is keep calm. So we have a lot of things that can kind of, be out of our control, right? It could be challenging being able to cope with that. And so keep calm is really understanding the importance of remembering to take it easy, to breathe, and focus on what really matters. Focus on what matters. So keep calm is number one. Number two is stay wise. Stay wise. So choosing positive action that supports not only our own personal well being, but also helps others do the same. Because remember, we're in this together. So taking these steps, these wise decisions will help, really help us and really help others around us. So it really helps everyone, right? Number three, be kind. Be kind. We're all in this together, even though we have been socially distant, as I shared earlier. Think about it. We have found ways to connect, either with having, virtual meetings, family reunions, virtual family reunions, right? Who would have ever thought? Virtual weddings. We've seen that. I actually had quite a few Zoom invites, right? To actually two weddings this past year. And then also people being very creative about virtual happy hours, right? Having a happy hour. And, either as maybe your company's doing it or just friends coming together. So, you know, be kind in terms of thinking about finding these ways in terms of connecting, but then also practicing kindness and reaching out to help others who are in need. And so, even these, virtual sessions from, weddings to family reunions to, you know, gift giving looking a little different during Christmas time because it was done virtually. It's all thinking about also being kind to ourselves and being kind to the ones around us, and then also being able to reach out to help other people in need and seeing what that looks like, right? So I hope you think about what that looks like for you. What does it look like when you're thinking about all of these three elements, but then when you're thinking about kindness too? How can you be kinder to yourself? What is something that you have been wanting to do to help show kindness to you, for you, prioritizing you, and also prioritizing your self care? What does that look like for you? Maybe you're saying to yourself, hey, Dr. Kortni, look, I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like, and that's okay. The beauty is in this moment right now, being kind to yourself is all about starting to not only think about it, process it, and begin to visualize what that looks like and begin to take action as relates to, well, you know what? I think I now know what it looks like to prioritize me, to be kinder to me. And this is what I'm going to do. So, this is really a wonderful opportunity. It is a wonderful opportunity to kind of hit that go button, flash that light that says go. All right, hit the button, flash the light, whatever works, whatever speaks to you. But being kinder to yourself, because that also helps with being kinder to other people. It starts with you. It starts with you. And how will you practice some of this self kindness? Better yet, I like to say it in terms of self-compassion. One of my favorite leading scholars in the area of self-compassion, her name is Dr. Christian Neff. And she has wonderful work in this area. She has multiple books in this area. And she just has incredible exercises that you'll find when you begin to follow more of her work. And one of the things that she shares is an exercise that she calls SelfCompassion Break. And she kind of sets it up this way. She wants you to think of a situation in life that is difficult, that has caused you stress. She then explains to begin to feel the stress by calling the situation to your mind. Begin to think about it. Once you begin to feel that emotional discomfort in your body, she says, begin to say these different things to yourself. The first one is, this is a moment of suffering. And she urges us, that's mindfulness. This is a moment of suffering. And it could be suffering or hurt or stress, right? This is a moment of suffering. The next, she says, is suffering is part of life. And Dr. Neff shares that this is part of common humanity, right? So she explains that this is the time you put your hands over your heart, feel the warmth of your hand, and then gentleness of you, right? And if you're not comfortable putting your hand on your heart, maybe that might speak to you. She says you can find, whatever feels right for you. Maybe it's um patting yourself in the back kind of thing. Or right now I have my hand and I am kind of going from my right hand and then wrapping it onto my shoulder, almost like I'm hugging myself, whatever that looks like for you. I will tell you that I like the hand on the heart dynamic because for those of you who may know, I love the arts. I love musicals. One of my favorite musicals is Wicked. I have seen Wicked in London. I have seen the tour when it was in when they came to Atlanta. Matter of fact, that was one of the plays last musicals I can recall. I can recall actually seeing with my mother before she died. And that was kind of a year or so, or maybe a little bit more than that, before things started to take a turn for her in terms of the transition, in terms of dying. And I remember I love Wicked. And so I love the whole idea putting my hands over my heart because Elphaba and Glinda, I think it's a song for good. And, Glinda talks about the hand over my heart and talking about the value of their friendship. Um, and so, but that speaks to me. You see how that spoke to me? This is the time you spend with you to find out what speaks to you, what feels comfortable to you. And so then she says, the third step in this is, may I be kind to myself. So ask yourself, what do I need to hear right now to express kindness to myself? What speaks to you? Is there a phrase? And she has all of these different phrases, and I'll mention just a few. May I give myself the compassion that I need. May I forgive myself. May I be strong. May I be patient. So this self-compassion break, right, really gives us an opportunity to be kind to ourselves and to speak to ourselves in a language, really the language that we would more than likely share with a friend, right? In terms of being kind, being compassionate. And so, what I love about Christian Niff's work is that she reminds us to practice self compassion, to be a friend to ourselves, and to think about what we're saying to ourselves. Because sometimes we can be very critical internally, right? But the importance of practicing self compassion is checking, is doing literally checking that and saying, nope, no, this is not how I'm going to communicate. I'm not going to communicate to myself in this negative way. I'm going to share it in regards to this. And it also, I love this, is that it honors the feeling. It honors the feeling of, this is a moment of suffering. And that and I love that she shares that suffering is a part of life and it's common humanity. And at that moment, hearing that allows us to feel, well, we're not alone in this. And it's okay to, in terms of uh, looking at that suffering. And then it's okay to be kind to myself. I love her work. Dr. Christian Niff, if you haven't picked up one of her books, please do. She is incredibly transformative. So, so Dr. Niff provides, these three ways, in terms of those approaches that I shared earlier to kind of help cultivate more calm in your life. She also has a wonderful, inspiring quote that I like to end with. Dr. Niff says, when we give ourselves compassion, we're opening our hearts in a way that can transform our lives. Wow. That in itself speaks to the power and the value in terms of self-compassion. Transformational words, perfect transformational words to end this podcast. I am wishing you a wonderful, happy International Day of Happiness filled with many positive activities like the ones that you heard today, and then also with increased positive emotion. Thank you so much for listening. Let's continue this conversation online. Join us on Instagram at Courting Happiness. Don't forget that's courting with a K. Also, I hope you join our private group on Facebook. You can find us with the name, again, Courting Happiness Podcast Community. Our private Facebook community is a safe haven to share, meet more people looking to build positive relationships, focus on well-being, and create a happier life. Now, are you ready to spread happiness? We hope you subscribe and share this podcast with your family, friends, coworkers, and all the important people in your world. We release a new episode every Thursday. Congratulations on your continued commitment to your courting happiness journey. Thank you so much for listening. We want you to be well, be happier, and be kinder to yourself. We can't wait to see you next week.